Okay. Okay. Dr. Revis, like to get started?
Well, good evening and welcome to week 6 of your 601 class. And wow, we're almost coming to closure with our first evidence work. And it just seems like it's gone really quickly. But Dr. Stedman, if I could just go on and talk about task 4.
Absolutely.
I saw a lot of growth in the writing in task 4. And I was just very, very pleased with the work that was turned in. And anyway, I was just very pleased with that. How about your class, Dr. Stedman?
I was too, Dr. Revis, and even if, let's just say that if I sent it back and there was let's say even if it was a 70, that's not a bad thing. That just meant that you had to, first of all of you had to have it presented to your administration for the most part. So it's got to be turned back in anyway because of that. But if there was a lot of work to do with task 4, a lot. So if you got a 70 on it or above, and it was for revisions, honestly, that meant that you were really doing a good job and on the right track. Now, I had a couple that spot on. I mean, it was perfect work from day one. And I'm gonna call him out. Carl was one of them. Carl just had, I mean, his work was just, I couldn't find, there was a few others, but anyway, Carl I just remember because he was the first one to clear it with me. But I mean, so many others you were right on target with it. And again, as I've talked with some individually, if you will follow the examples and the template that we've given you, it pretty much will guide you so that you can, if you question yourself, and I question myself now still, even with APA, I'll say, well, is that right or wrong? And I have to go back and figure it out even after I've done it a million times. So it's okay to check yourself or to question yourself, but go back and do it. Don't just assume anything. Go back and give it a check on that. But growth, I mean, it's just like overnight. You know how you see a flower that opens up, or a butterfly that comes out of the cocoon. That is what I'm seeing happen. And it's all, I can tell that it's all starting to come together now. I mean, it's making sense, and you're able to connect the dots and bring it all together. But I agree, Dr. Revis. It is. I will tell you again, though, you cannot, and I have to say that with capital letters, cannot do good work and wait to the last minute to do it. You have to, you've got to pace yourself. You've got to, and again, I think most of you are figuring that out, and you are saying, it's becoming almost like brushing your teeth. It's becoming a daily part of your life, and the dentist tells us to brush our teeth more than one time a day, so it needs to become a part of your life more than one time a day. So, okay, and Alicia, I'm proud of you too. I think you got it now. So great job.
I do too. I had several of you that really rose to the occasion on this one. So nice work. And now you set the bar. I know what you can do. So now we can move on.
And I'm going to tell you, I don't care how frustrated you get from this point on. Let me tell you, folks, you've invested too much of your life already to ever think about stopping, giving up, or I can't do this. I mean, if you were in the military, and I'm going to use this example, if you were in the military, guess what? We would be graduating from boot camp, from basic training after 6 weeks. That's what the military does to you. So you've kind of gone through, you've gone through boot camp with Dr. Revis and me over the last 6 weeks, and you have survived us. You know, we push you hard, and we're going to keep on pushing you hard. But I think you see and understand why.
And what about your Zoom meetings, Dr. Stedman? Task 1 and 2.
Dr. Revis, I was highly, highly, highly pleased with my Zoom meetings. I think for the most part, the leaders did a great job leading, and keeping things under control. I mean, once in a while, I mean, some of you can be difficult, and the Zoom leaders did an excellent job reeling you back in so that you're not chasing rabbits, or you're not, so we watched that, and I saw where you had to do that every now and then. That's the human part of us, though. I don't know why we like to chase rabbits, but we do. But that I was very pleased. You spoke to the nature of the program, the nature of the AAPSL. I heard the language about improved student achievement, working with your PLC, those kinds of things. I will have to say that it's important that you remember that for every one of these tasks, and it's going to be the same thing when you get to the AAPSL, you must show leadership. You've got to prove it to us, that you're still leading your PLC. So that agenda is going to be important each time. And I'm going to tell you, the agenda wouldn't be enough for me, because I don't want anybody to question me. I probably would make them sign a roster, and that would be my proof, and I'd still want a picture of me showing I'm going to give it all. If I were in your shoes and I was turning my work in, that's just who I am. I'm going to give them everything so that there's no questions about me. Okay? So that's you. Dr. Revis?
Well, I was pleased as well. The Zoom masters, or the leaders and facilitators of the Zoom session, did a very good job. It was very obvious in each of my 4 groups that the Zoom leader was very well prepared, had an agenda prepared. Many of you had even decided how you were going, the order in which you were going to answer and contribute to the conversation. That of course was optional, but I think it's a good technique, particularly if you're not, if you don't know the group that well, is to always think about what are the strategies so that we can make sure we move through the discussion and everyone has an opportunity to talk, and that kind of thing. So anyway, I have given all my feedback on the Zooms, and I was very, very pleased.
And Dr. Revis, and again, they're going to say Carl's the teacher's pet, but I just remember something Carl did. He led his group, but I like what Carl did, and he opened up with an icebreaker. He was just so charismatic with what he did, and I'll say something about that after, because I try to figure all of you out, and I as I listen, I try to, in my mind, I begin to think about each one of you in a different way as we meet each week. But he did very charismatic, and I think Carl, it was, what do you want to get out of this program, or something like that? What do you hope to accomplish? And and he said, I'm going to go last. He said, I want to hear from you first. So he set the tone for that. But then and that just kind of broke the ice. But he kept it upbeat the whole time with his personality. But I had thought this about Carl, and he confirmed it. Carl grew up in a preacher's home. He's a preacher's kid, and he plays music in the church. And just so I had him pegged, and he confirmed all of that in whenever whenever he was leading his group. But anyway, again, lots of great stuff. Lots of great stuff. Dr. Revis, I think we have an agenda, but I think we have decided that we're going to abbreviate the agenda, or we're going to change it around a little bit. First of all, we're at a place now. We're going to introduce the last task, task 5 of the AAPSL. I'm going to go ahead, and Dr. Revis will chime in, because once you get task 5 done, the rest of it really becomes pretty easy after that. So we're going to go ahead and go through that tonight and show you how to finish with task 5, combine task 1 through 5 into one document, and how to get it ready for the Turnitin process before it goes to taskstream for final evaluation. Because between this week and next week, the AAPSL will become history. We will refer to you have done the AAPSL, but evidence 1 will be over with. And we were going to do just a portion of that tonight, and then we were going to let Dr. Revis lead into talking more about building the competency folio that Dr. Lamb had introduced in taskstream, but we decided that probably was too much in one night. So what we want to do is we want to get you to a place with the AAPSL, and next week we'll just kind of say, where are you with it? Are there any questions about it? And so we won't talk a whole lot about the AAPSL next week. And Dr. Revis will spend the majority of the time leading in your competency folio and what you've got to complete for that at this point, because at this point, everything that you've done with the AAPSL those competencies have to go into the competency folio. And then we will introduce your first case study next week as well. We'll go over that with you, and that will be the week after that. So that's kind of where we are tonight. When you look at the agenda under week 6, you will find that it tells you, what you should already have done for this week. It'll tell you what is due for this coming week, or this current week, what has to be done for Blackboard. And then it gives you an idea of what's coming up, the week ahead. And I've kind of told you that because, you got to do your competency folio. So that's kind of where we are. But with that in mind, I'm going to share my screen. And Dr. Revis, when I pull this up, as we said, you just interject whatever you need to say at any time. With that, I want to go to let me see which one. I want to go to the template. I want to go to the template first. Now to the template. Task 5. Now, in each semester, you will be required to work with, there's 21 competencies, and these competencies were created by DPI as competencies that every administrator should be at minimally proficient in. Did I say that correctly, Dr. Revis? You must be minimally proficient. There's 21 of them. And if you see, we're going to come back up, but you see it starts with, and the purpose, what you're going to do is you're going to reflect as a student in this program. You're going to reflect on where you are at this point, the 6 weeks that you've been in this program, and the work that you've done with the AAPSL. Now, you're not thinking and reflecting as a teacher. Remember, day 1, we said that you've got to take that teacher hat off and you got to put the principal hat on. So you're thinking like a principal, but you're going to reflect on what you've done in your coursework, with the evidence work, your reading, anything else, you're going to reflect on all of that. And then you're going to reflect on your clinical experience. What have you done at this point administratively? So you're going to think about those things. And there's 21 of them, 21 competencies, but at this point, you're only going to address 12 of them. Only 12. Only 12. And we're going to talk to you about that. I'm going to come back up here. Communication is one I want to come down to the bottom of this document first. And this is in Blackboard. You've got this same document in Blackboard under the AAPSL template and material section. At the end of this document, this is what you'll find. The information below concerning the 21 competencies is for reference only. Okay, these are the 21 competencies. These are the
I think
21
those highlighted are your 8
these
that
are
you
the
have to
21
do.
competencies here.
Yeah.
Okay, here they are. Communication, change management, conflict management, and it tells you exactly what communication: effectively listens to others, clearly and effectively presents and understands information orally and in writing, acquires, organizes, analyzes, interprets, maintains information needed to achieve school or team 21st century objectives. Okay, now when Neely looks at this, Neely's going to say, okay, communication. How have I grown in communication over the last 6 weeks? And you've got to prove it. Neely's got to prove it. She's got to show how she has at least proficiently met that competency over the last 6 weeks. And she's got to tell. Now, some of you, it can be the same thing. And some of you, it can be a variety of things, because we all have varied experiences. All you're doing at this point is you are narratively writing about that experience, your experience. And notice there's 21 of them. These are the 21 that you will cover this semester, but only 12 of them at this point. There's the 21 of them, and you can see that it all goes down. Now, let's go back up. There's 21, but do you see these 9 that are highlighted in yellow? These are the 9 that are required for the AAPSL. You must do these 9. Every one of you are going to talk about communication. Every one of you are going to talk about change management. Every one, delegation. Every one, dialogue/inquiry. That's 1. Every one of you, judgment. Every one of you, systems thinking. Every one of you, technology. And every one of you, visionary. And if you count, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Dialogue. And Dr. Revis, help me.
And then those are the 8 required.
Okay,
and
those
then
are 8 required. Okay, 9. There's 9 in the AAPSL. So the 8 required, and then there's 4 more that you have to choose on your own from the 21, from the other remaining ones of the 21 competencies. So these are required. These 8 are required, and then any of those that are not listed up there that's down here, you choose 4 more of them. So that's 8 up there, 4 more that you choose, that's 12. Now there's 21 competencies. That means how many's left? There's 9 left. Guess when you're going to do those 9? At the end of the AAPSL. And so at the end of this semester, you will have addressed all 21 competencies. 12 of them with the AAPSL, 9 of them with the AAPSL. Okay, that's at the bottom of this document. Now, Dr. Revis and Dr. Hamilton and I have gone back and we've tried to make life so much easier for you as you are beginning this journey. So let's go back to communication. And Dr. Revis, if you would take it from here, talking about what our expectations are going to be with the 12 competencies that they're going to be completing this semester or this time with the AAPSL.
Okay, so communication is one of those required ones. And so you have to reflect on how you have used communication in your coursework, and then how you've used communication in your clinical work. So, this particular person talked about communication when she was began sharing information to the PLC, and communications about the meetings and getting permission from the principals and so on and so forth. So she really gets into communication around the coursework. Now in the lime green, and notice this is a different paragraph. Now she reflects on communication from her clinical experiences. And I always think it's very important to start a new paragraph when you start talking about your clinical, and that you start out by saying, during my clinical experiences, I did da 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 da. So she talks about how she communicated with bus drivers and teachers and parents, and even the bus garage staff. Now, here's the pitfall, and it particularly comes when you talk about clinical work. You cannot describe a parent conference that you had as a teacher, because that's leadership in the classroom, but we're talking about school leadership outside the classroom. So you could talk about a parent conference, but it would be one that maybe you sat in with one of your administrators while they were talking with a parent about a student situation, or it could be a parent conference that you held, and the administrator is sitting in to listen and watch you and give you feedback about that conference. But think about, during my clinical experiences, I don't count things that I do as a classroom teacher, or that's ordinarily a part of my job. You've got to step out and show that school leadership.
And you're going to have to really think about this, when you're doing it. I mean, it's not hard work, but you've got to really put a lot of thought into it.
You do. And there are no artifacts that you submit with this task. Let me say that one more time. There are no artifacts that you need to submit with this task. However, be smart, work smart, not hard. Think about experiences, particularly again from your clinical, where that you do have a good artifact, put that in your hip pocket, because then I'm going to show you next week how that can be used in your competency folio.
Okay, Dr. Revis, may I say something now?
Think about
this. Think about this with communication. Leading your PLC, you've had to communicate for the last 6 weeks with your PLC. Now that a lot of it was through email communication, about setting up your meetings. All of you communicated with your principal. You spoke with your principal, but then you also sent them an email asking them what? I'm tasked with having to lead a PLC. With your permission, may I lead the PLC? May I form this PLC? That's a form of communication. Now, Dr. Revis is going to go, she'll drive this nail in next week. But then when you did that, guess what an artifact is? That email. A copy of that email is an artifact that you don't need it for this, but you will need it for Dr. Revis and me when we talk next week with you about, the next step with your folio. All we want this time, though, is your communication. Well, like Dr. Revis said, think smart, work smart. if you know that you've got all 12 of these, we're going to talk about them next week in a different way, but it's going to be the same 12. The same 12 that you're doing now, you will do those same 12 for Dr. Revis and me in your folio. So do what you've got to do with task 5, knowing that you've got to take it a step further when you get to, so think smart and just say, while you're doing your narrative work, think whether, and you may want to put a note to the side, well, this is my email communication or blah, blah, blah. Make notes so you can go back and or either get a folder and put your artifacts in it already, knowing that they're coming, if you know what that artifact is. But anyway.
So again, I'm going to emphasize this now for about the third time. No artifacts are submitted with task 5. These are narratives. Secondly, you don't submit this for others, your peers, to review. You don't submit it to Dr. Stedman and me for review. This one, friends, is going straight to the assignment Dropbox. Is that where you want yours to go, Dr. Stedman?
Yeah. Now, Dr. Revis, however, they can put it in the same thing for peer and instructor review, and only you and I will look at it there.
Okay.
So that's okay. That's okay. You can go ahead and put it in there, but you don't, your peers won't look at it. Only Dr. Revis and I will look at it. And that probably, Dr. Revis, is probably what we want them to do, to put it in there so that we know that if there are any issues, we can tell them to correct it before it goes in for a final grade. So yeah, put it there, but you guess what? You do not have to do a peer review for next week. Aren't you happy? In fact, it'll be 3 or 4 weeks that you don't have to do any peer reviews, not until we come back, start with the AAPSL. So you're off the hook with peer reviews for a little bit.
We had a question where in the discussion board you put it in for peer and instructor review, just like you've done your other ones in the same location. You will put task 5, but no peer reviews, but we pick it up there. Okay.
It's the same place, but just for Dr. Revis and me. Your peers won't be looking at it. They can look at it, but they're not going to comment on it. They're not going to do anything with it.
Okay, so guys, this one should be a time for you to reflect about your growth and the opportunities that you've had in your clinical work. And I hope you enjoy and have the time to really think about, wow, look what I've done. Look what all I've done in 6 weeks. So let me see. I'm going to pick
Look at this
on.
one, look at this one, Dr. Revis. Dialogue inquiry. This student said, to identify the most pressing need, there needed to be an open discussion about the current state of our school in terms of its data. Data is sometimes a difficult topic as it essentially represents success or failure as a school. However, in our current situation, we are recovering from a mostly virtual environment last year from the COVID-19 pandemic. In first exam, and just went on to just tell the story of how they had grown in this area and the things that they had experienced. I mean, it's just so, you just kind of speaking from your heart is what you're doing. And then she said, during my clinical experience, I was assigned to be the school representative on the district level professional development team. This district level team was in charge of designing and implementing the state required reading professional development for the entire district. And again, as a classroom teacher, you may be given some responsibilities to attend some type of training where you come back and you train the trainer model or whatever. Those are all leadership opportunities outside of the classroom. So, look for those opportunities to reflect on.
Okay, let's check for some understanding. If you would type in the chat box, how many competencies will you reflect on in task 11? How many competencies will you reflect on in task 5? Excuse me. Okay, question 2. How many of those competencies are required? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of 8s come in. That's correct. And of course, then you have 4 of your choice.
True or false? You only have to write about, reflect on your clinical experience. Okay, good. They got it. They know that. So good. Oh,
All right. Yes or no? I must submit artifacts with task 5.
okay.
And Alicia's asked a question in the chat box about, do we have to cite research? You don't have to. Only if it's something that you're using to drive home a point that you want to make. This particular one that's on our screen now, she cited Ubin, which is one of your texts. That's fine, but you don't have to.
Right. And Dr. Revis, this is a golden opportunity, though, for you to let us know that you are doing your reading and that you understand your reading and make that connection. So that, I mean, that you, like Dr. Revis says, you don't have to, but it thrills me when I see that, because it lets me know, that you're doing what you're supposed to do.
I think they've got a good understanding.
I do
This
too.
should be a good week for you in your writing, because again, these are about your reflections and how you have demonstrated leadership in these 12 competencies.
Okay. Now, let me stop this. Okay. Let me pull this up. Okay, I want you to look at it. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is, once we approve task 5, once we have approved all 5 of your tasks, let me put it that way, that you're cleared, that you've got a grade on it, you will have submitted task 5 and successfully submitted tasks 1 through 4 into Blackboard for a final grade. Once you've done that, when you get task 5 done, Dr. Revis and I are going to say to you, excellent, blah, blah, blah. You are now, combine it into task 1 through 5 into one document to be submitted for our review prior to the Turnitin process. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to submit, just like you've submitted everything else, into the review. Help me find it over here. Task for review. AAPSL task for review. Okay. Do you see that? AAPSL task 1 through 5 combined for instructor review. That's where you would put it. That's where we're going to tell you that it's, that it's ready to go on, or either you've got to do some work with it. And then let's come right here. Completed AAPSL assignment Dropbox. Okay, that's as far as you've got to go. I was thinking that 1 through 5 was in there. Once you do that, we're going to tell you that you're good to go for the Turnitin process. Now, once we do not touch this until we tell you that it's ready to go there. Once we tell you it can go to the Turnitin check, this is where you go, and you will submit your work your whole document. You will submit it there, 1 through 5 combined. You will submit it there to go through the Turnitin check, and they're checking it there for, to make sure that, that everything is above board, that, that there has not been any plagiarism, and things of that nature. And if it's good to go, then Dr. Revis and I will look at your score. You won't get any feedback on it. You won't get a report. If it's good to go, then we're going to say, excellent, submit to taskstream for evaluation. Or if there's something questionable, we're going to talk to you personally about it. Okay? If there's something, and we've had to do that before, haven't we, Dr. Revis? So,
Yes.
we've had to do that before because, some things showed up. And again, just please know that if once it gets there, it will even tell us if anybody has copied work from another student's work, it will tell us whose work it is. It takes us to the name of the student and shows us the work. So remember, you must do your own work. And then once it's there, you'll submit it to taskstream. And there's a video in here if you have any problems that tells you how to upload your work to taskstream. And we'll talk about that next week. I'm not going to get into that this week, but it's over here. You can find it, how to upload to taskstream. Now, let me stop share. Just remember, when you put your document together into one document, remember you submitted the AAPSL task 1, and with that, remember you had your school profile. You've got your cover page that says my name here. Then you've got your school profile. Then you're going to have task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4, task 5. Guess what you're going to go back and do? From task 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You're going to go back and you're going to pull all of the references from each one, and you're going to put them at the end into one reference in ABC order. Okay? You pull them all together at the end. All the references are removed from each task, and they're put at the end. Now remember, references come after task 5, and then after that, you're going to do the same thing with your appendices. Your title is going to be appendices, and you're going to go back to task 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And any of your appendices, you're going to, that comes next. Your appendices comes after your references. And that's the last thing on your document. And that completes your document, Dr. Revis.
And remember, for your appendices, in your narrative, you have referred, see Appendix D. Just make sure when you put them all together, they have to be in alphabetical order according to the way or the order in which you have referenced that in your narrative. Now,
and remember, one appendices per page.
Right.
You don't put 2 appendices on the same page.
Right. And some of you have kept up with your appendices lettering, but some of you haven't. So you're not only going to have to make sure that you've got it in your narrative, referenced correctly in your narrative, but you're going to have to make sure that it's correct in your appendices. And it's
Dr.
kind of the
Revis,
same. Go ahead.
Dr. Revis, if they had, let's say if they had, and I doubt it's going to happen at this point, but let's say that if you had Appendix A, Appendix B, and you went all the way to Appendix Z. After Appendix Z, what would be the next one? Does anybody know?
Is it AA?
Appendix AA, yes. Way to go, Kelly. It would be Appendix AA. So just
And
remember,
Sarah, way to go.
Important. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And same kind of thing with all of your figure numbers in your narrative.
Right.
We started out with figure 1, 2.
Well, when I say it, yeah, right. Yeah, go ahead.
So you've got to make those go consecutively throughout those 5 tasks. Again, some of you did that automatically, and that's great. but a lot of you didn't, because number one, you probably didn't even think about it, and we didn't emphasize it at that time. But make sure you go through and number all of your figures consecutively throughout.
Okay, let me pull this up. I want to pull this up and. Okay,
Do we have,
I'm going to put that sample and show them that, Dr. Revis. This is in your in Blackboard under template and materials section. And what were you saying, Dr. Revis? Did we have what?
we've got one question. Do we put all the figures together? Oh, no, absolutely not. Your figures should appear where they need to appear in the text. In fact, when you mention a figure, it should be as closely inserted as closely to where you mention it as possible. So you keep those in there just as they are. You keep in all of your prompt and all of the task information, all the text that comes with the template. You keep that in there. And if you don't, we'll have to send it back, because reviewers look at that. They look at
Right.
task 1, prompt 1. They look for task 2, prompt 1 and 2, and so on and so forth. So
Right.
keep all of your template language in there.
Everything in black stays. You see, and this is it right here. This is the example. Again, your name here. And let's just look through this. Starts out with the school profile. Then it goes into task 1. And notice, like Dr. Rev said, there's the description, there's the instructions. Prompt 1, it stays the same. And this is all of your task 1 that you've done. But I want you to notice when you come to the end of task 1, again, just a reminder, you see, there's no reference section and there's no appendices there. Okay, and the same thing, task 2, you put it all there. You realize when you put it all together, you realize just how much work you've done over the last few weeks.
This is pages long, and realizing that you can look at the figure numbers. I think we got up to 6 there. Oh, no, I was wrong.
Figure they're 11. There, I mean, it's going on down.
Yeah.
13, there's a lot. You have, and all of you will have a lot for the most part when you put it all together. Okay. Again, it goes on and on. There's your task 4. Okay, and this is your task 5, which are 12 competencies.
In this example, I'm not sure that they did a reflection on both the coursework and the clinical, but you have to do that. So
Yeah, yes, this is only an example. You do what we told you to do. We didn't say that these are the best samples in the world. It is just a sample. And then you see this is where the references were combined. This is from all 5 tasks to one reference section. And then this is where the appendices begin. You see? And it goes on and on and on and on.
Dr. Stammen, I think we have a document somewhere with directions on how to put all these tasks together. I'm wanting to think it's maybe.
Okay. Okay, Michael, while we're looking, Michael, what's your question? Michelle, I'm sorry, Michelle.
Okay, sorry, I tried to type this, but
Go ahead.
don't know that I can explain it well in typing. If the prompt or task that is already written falls on 2 separate pages, do we need to move that so that it's written all together, or is that okay to be on separate pages?
I would say that if it's narrative work,
No, the prompt that is given on,
I would put it on one page.
okay.
That's me. Wouldn't you, Dr. Revis?
Yeah, I mean, it's just easier reading.
Right.
But you know, when an evaluator pulls up your work, depending on what they're working on, what device or whatever, it may move it anyway, but we don't worry about that. I think you just get it in the best shape you can from the device you are working on.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Revis, I'm looking for that document that you were talking about.
I think
I remember it, but I cannot remember where we.
it may be under AAPSL tasks for review, maybe.
That's what I did. The
Oh, is that where you are?
AAPSL task for review. Okay, no. Let me go back and see.
It might not, I don't know. No, it wouldn't be there, I don't think. It
No.
wouldn't be there. That's a Dropbox.
And let me go to the AAPSL and see if it's there for some reason. AAPSL template and materials. And we may not have, if it is, we can put it up there.
It's in
We'll
there.
find it though.
It's in there with the AAPSL template and materials.
Is it
Okay.
there? Okay, I didn't see it. Okay, let me go back. Okay, I knew we had done it. Okay, maybe I didn't go down far enough.
Isn't
Okay.
it the directions and process for submitting the AAPSL
There
final?
you go.
Right there, yeah.
There you go, Kristen. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you. There it is. Okay. It's slow.
Sandra has asked about page numbers. That's optional. To be honest with you, when we start working on the next evidence work, I want you to use page numbers because it's when I'm giving feedback, it's easier for me if I say on page 4 or on page 5. But you don't have to. What do you think on that, Dr. Stedman?
I would prefer it. It makes it so much easier when I'm looking at student work. I would prefer it.
Yes, I do too.
Okay, and here it is. This is under the AAPSL template and materials section, directions and process for submitting the AAPSL final evidence. And what we've talked about tonight, again, this takes it through the process step by step for you. Thank you, Dr. Rivers. I had forgotten about this.
Right. Well, and you know, don't worry about this part right now. Right now, you
Right.
got to get task 5 done.
Right. Yeah, but
And
this
don't
is
combine them until we give you the go ahead on task 5.
right. But some of you are going to be at that place is our point. You're going to be at that place by the time you're going to be biting at the bits when you turn that task 5 in to go ahead and push that button. Don't you push a button till we tell you to, because it can get you in trouble. But this is to help those of you that need to know ahead of time what to expect. This is to help take some of that anxiety away. Okay. So let me stop share again. Okay, that's Dr. Revis.
Having conferences, and I went in and out several times.
Yeah,
We may. Are you there, Dr. Stedman?
I am. Can
Well,
you hear me?
I think he's frozen up again. Guys, if he loses us and we have covered everything that we would set out to cover tonight, does anybody have any questions? Yes, your page number is in the lower right-hand corner. Kelly, did you have a question?
Just making sure, because I was trying to look at the APA guide. Everything that's in our narrative as far as any figure goes, like pictures of anything, is that considered a figure, or is it just tables, charts, graphs?
Well, we deviate from APA just a little bit on this, okay? Anything you create as far as charts, graphs, figures. We call them all figures for this program. We don't differentiate. So that's what you've been doing as you've been going through, is calling everything a figure. So just continue with that. But
So
you're
even
right,
like
Kelly.
A
They are
snapshot of,
different.
of an email, like a snapshot of an email, would that be a figure? Okay, so
Yes.
everything needs to be labeled as a figure.
Everything labeled as a figure for this program.
Can you hear me
Now-
now, Dr. Revis?
I can.
Okay,
Now, for
good.
those of you who go on to the doctoral program, you will learn the difference between a figure and a table. But for us, everything's a figure. Okay.
Okay, I think Jill had a question.
Yes, I put my question in the chat, but I think it got overlooked. Earlier when you were talking about including the agendas in our work, if we had not done that for the other tasks that have already been submitted, do you want us to go back and include that even
Okay.
though we've already submitted it?
Yeah, go back and fix it.
Okay, thank
Go
you.
back and fix it, yeah.
Now that's going to throw your numbers off, but that's okay. Or your lettering, if you put it in as an appendix entry.
But you can fix those kinds of things, Jill. Okay, other questions? These have been good questions.
Shaquita, I'm not sure I understand your question in the chat box. Could you go ahead and talk to us about that?
Okay, so you said that a screenshot of an email, for example, or like a screenshot of something would be a figure. Well, like I've been putting like my screenshots of the agenda and emails and things like that as a appendix. So
That's fine.
is there a difference? Okay.
That's fine. Well, figures are going to be in your narrative work, part of your narrative work. An appendix entry is in your appendix only. Okay, so you can do it either way. However you've done it, I wouldn't change it
No,
now.
no, if you were doing something wrong, we would have told you by now.
Yeah.
I have a question. This is Tori.
Hey, Tori.
Hi. I
Hey,
was
Tori.
wondering, hi, how you doing?
Good.
I was wondering, okay, make sure I have the understanding. Task 5 is going to be submitted by itself first, then later on. And we
Right.
are going to put task 5 in the place where we usually put it. It's just going to be for the instructors.
That's it, Tori. You've got it.
And then you're going to tell us when to put it, submit it to the inbox,
For final grade, yeah.
for the inbox.
And
Yeah.
Tori,
Okay.
what I will say to my students is, if I have approved your task 5, I will say submit it in the AAPSL assignment Dropbox, or sometimes I'll say submit it for final evaluation. That means AAPSL assignment Dropbox.
Right.
And then I'll probably go ahead and say, go ahead and start working on combining tasks 1 through 5.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay, Sarah.
Thank you.
And again, remember, we've told you task 1 through 5 is not due until not this week, but next week. But you're going to find when you get through with task 5 this week, and we give you, it's going to be a quick turnaround for
Yeah.
most of you. It doesn't take a long time to put task 1 through 5 together and to get it back to us to look at. So you're going to be ready. And I don't think, for the most part, most of you won't need that whole next week to get that done. You'll be able to go ahead and knock it out and get it over with. Okay.
Okay.
That's
All right.
what we're telling you tonight. Task 5, task 4 has to be submitted for a final grade this week, and task 5 has to be submitted for a final grade this week.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me re-emphasize what you just said, Dr. Stedman. Did you guys catch it? Task 4 is due for final grade, and task 5 is due for a final grade. So you're going to have to pop that task 5 in for our review before Sunday night.
Okay.
Okay. For us to review it and tell you it's ready to be submitted for final evaluation. Everybody get that? Thumbs up if you did.
And just remember, Thursday, I saw that, Carl. Thursday is
What does
not,
this mean?
remember, remember, teachers have eyes in the back of their head. You don't have to, we're not meeting on Thursday night, so use your time wisely. Normally, remember, we would be together for about 2 hours of time. You can, honestly, if you work smart, you can knock this out in 2 hours. If you will work smart. Uninterrupted, you can knock this out in 2 hours.
I've been asked to repeat that one more time. Let me back up and say it a little bit different way. Usually what you're doing on a Sunday evening is you're submitting one task for final review or submitting one task for final grade, and you're submitting one task for review, right? For our first look.
Right.
This Sunday night, you're submitting both tasks for final evaluation. You're submitting task 4 that you're working on right now, and you're going to submit task 5. But in order to submit task 5 for final evaluation, you got to get it to us before Sunday night. Is that right, Dr. Stedman?
That's right. Let me go ahead and let's make it easier. We need to see your task 5 for instructor review by Saturday. That way, that gives us time. And I'm going to say Saturday.
No later than.
No later than Saturday. And let's say that we want them no later than, in our hands, no later than 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon, because that gives Dr. Revis and me time while you're out having dinner and going to a movie. We'll be grading work that afternoon and getting it back.
I hate to ask. Could I ask by 5 o'clock? Because I work on Saturday. This is Miss Alexander, Tori Alexander.
Okay.
I work on Saturdays. I work in a salon. If I can have to 5 o'clock.
You can have until 5 o'clock for me, Tori.
Thank you.
That's
so
only Tori. Nobody else has talked to me, so only Tori.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, wait. Okay, somebody said that they have a schedule, and okay, what?
Good, Leisha. I like the way Leisha's thinking.
Full place.
She's already submitted her task 4 for final evaluation. She's going to start on task 5. So if everybody did what Leisha's going to do, I can go out to dinner and a movie on Saturday, right?
Right. This doesn't change anything. We actually are giving you the option of turning it in. Just now, if you choose not to turn it into us for review, then it's due Sunday night at 9 o'clock, and there's no second chances on that. So we honestly are doing you a favor by giving you the option of turning it at us. We haven't changed anything for people's schedules to be. We haven't changed anything. We're just saying that that we're going to review it for you. But if you don't want yours reviewed, then that's okay. You can submit it to us on Sunday night, and then it is what it is on Sunday night. Dr. Revis, is that good?
That's good. I want to say one more thing about task 5. Guys, this should be a easy breezy. Easy. Don't make it difficult, okay? But you've got to reflect. Each competency has to have reflection from your coursework and your clinical. If you just do one, your evaluator is going to mark you down on it. I promise you, because we've seen it over and over and over again.
What happens, you have done excellent work in 1, 2, 3, 4, and you get all the way when they start scoring you, you get a 4, a 4, a 4, a 4, and you get to task 5, and because you did not address both your classwork and your clinical experience, you get a 3, and that means that you do not get a final 4, which is, and you've done all this work, and you strive for 4. So, that's what you want. So,
Yeah, don't let this task be the reason you don't get a perfect 4.
okay,
Any other questions?
you're going to be all right. Don't overthink this. You're going to be all right. This actually is probably the easiest task that you've got, except you do have to spend some time with it, but it's just you. You don't have to deal with anybody else but you. You don't have to
No
meet PLC this
PLC
time.
meeting.
You don't have to meet with this one. It's just you. Now remember, before you can turn task 4 in, you've got to have presented to your administrator. Remember that, and we got to see proof of that. Derek.
Yeah, I just have one question. I'm a little bit paranoid about this. I'm paranoid about plagiarism, and the whole, and this may be something we could talk about later, but the Turnitin process, oftentimes when we write things, we come up with thoughts that have existed in other papers. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but listen, don't overthink that either. Dr. Revis and I, this is not our first rodeo. You're going to be all right. We realize that, first of all, that there's going to be so much after this semester. You will be actually writing against yourself. Okay? Each time you turn it in, you will be writing against yourself. So the score actually, the numbers get higher every time. Okay. But what it will tell us, Derek, is that it will specifically tell us if you have plagiarized, or if anybody has plagiarized against another student's work. And let's say, for instance, let me use your school, Pine Forest Middle School. Let's say, for instance, that let me use this, 71st High School in Cumberland. There was one time that I had probably close to 15 students over the course of several years that had gone through my program there. So they were pulling the same data and the same information from the same school. So when students that came on board a few years later, when it went in Turnitin, it looked like they were copying other students' work, but they weren't, because they were pulling the same information from the same school. So I knew that because I had been their intern, their coach, and whatever, and I had taught part of. So I knew that. So we understand those kinds of things. Probably, Dr. Revis, in the course of the last several years, we've probably only had to deal with it. I can count them on my hand. The number of students that we knew that there was a definite problem, and we dealt with it. So
Yeah,
so
we can see, we can see where it's coming from.
Yeah,
and
so don't worry about that. That's not anything. We just have to tell you that. And the thing is, if somebody would look under, when they're doing a period instructor review, and they go in there and they take that student's work and they put it on their work, then it's going to show up. And guess what? We're going to know that they took it from somebody else. You know why? Because that other person will have already submitted their work. And when we go into Blackboard, it actually shows us the time to the very second when that work is submitted. So we know who submitted the work first.
Yeah, the kind of where my thought process is sometimes when we're writing and we're putting our narrative on paper and we're making those statements about certain things, we could possibly word things in exactly the same way as someone else, and it's not plagiarism. It's just
right. And we
the luck of the draw.
and we know that.
Okay.
We're not we're
Okay.
not, that's not the kinds of things that
Okay.
we're looking at. Now, if you were doing a dissertation, and Dr. Revis and I have worked with students with their dissertation, it's, you know, we would have to say, you need to go back and you need to change the wording on this. It's too much like something, but we're not going to be that much of a stickler
Okay.
on what you're doing now. You're going to be fine.
Okay. Thank you, because that's been my paranoia.
Yeah. Well,
So,
don't,
okay.
you know,
All right. Cool.
and I'm
All
not
right,
going to
thank
charge you for that one. I talked you off the ledge on that one. I'm not going to charge you for it.
I wasn't on the ledge. I was just kind of.
You were almost there, Derek.
I wasn't ready to jump just yet. If I didn't jump a couple of weeks ago,
Okay.
I'm not.
You're
gonna
not.
jump
You're
now.
not going to jump now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm picking on you, but okay. Good question. Okay, guys. Okay.
We got one more question, Dr. Stedman. Where is the task 5 document that you showed that had the 2 different colors?
Okay. That is in your helpful. That is in your helpful hints document. And that is actually
Is that the
template.
example?
The template.
Okay, the
template,
template.
but the template's there with the 2 different colors. It's the AAPSL template. That's where you find it. And if you scroll down to task 5, you should see it.
Guys, these next couple of weeks, since you don't have to do peer reviews and you don't have class on Thursday night, I think it's going to be a breather for some of you. If you're caught up, now, if you're not caught up, it's not going to be. But, you know, if you are owing me anything for final evaluation on your AAPSL, get it done this week, okay?
Me
And
too.
if you don't know, if you need to go in and check your grades, guys, this is a good time to do that. Okay.
Yeah, you should consistently do a self-check. And let me tell you this. You've got okay, fall break. Okay, we've got this is week 6. Week 7. Okay. Week 8, you got week 7 next week, then week 8, the week of the 9th, the 10th, and then week 11, which is the week of the 17th. We actually will not meet that week, means you'll have work that we will have introduced the APTEL by that time, but you will actually have a week that you don't have to listen to Dr. Riffis and me. That's fall break. Okay. So you've got a little reprieve coming. Okay,
Good night,
guys.
guys.
Good night. Call us if you need us.
Good night.